All right, welcome back. We often think of art as, a finished product, something an artist creates in solitude and then it's done. But what if that's only half the story? Today we're diving into Michael Dufresne's really fascinating idea that an artwork's life only truly begins when it enters the world, and that's a process that absolutely requires performers and an audience to be complete.
So let's jump right in with a thought experiment that really gets to the core of Dufresne's philosophy. Just imagine a brilliant musical score that's never, ever been played, or a really powerful play that has never been staged. Are these truly works of art, or are they just potential? Just words on a page waiting for someone or something to finally bring them to life? This is the central question we're going to unpack today.
Dufresne kicks things off with this really powerful idea. Before an artwork is ever experienced, it exists in a state of what he calls unfulfilled potential. He gives this a name, the artwork's demand. It's not just an object. It's an object with this inherent call to be seen, to be heard, to be brought into its full existence by others.
And what's so interesting here is the status he gives these potential artworks. For Dufresne, a masterpiece that's just locked away in a vault or an unread manuscript, it isn't complete yet. It exists, sure, but it's in the state of waiting, holding this powerful demand to be realized. And this demand can only be answered when other people finally arrive on the scene.
Okay, so let's talk about the first of these crucial collaborators, the performer. In so many art forms, music, theater, dance, the performer occupies this incredibly unique and vital space. They're like a mediator between the creator's original vision and its actual appearance in the world.
Now, Dufresne, writing in French, makes this key distinction. You have the creator, l'auteur, who provides the blueprint, the score, the script, the instructions. But then you have the performer, l'exécutant, who actually gives this blueprint a physical, sensory form. And they're not just technicians, not at all. They are interpreters. They're artists in their own right, who give the work its very first concrete presence in the world.
This quote here from Hans-Georg Gadamer just captures the idea perfectly. The performance isn't some extra layer you add on top. It's what makes the work real. Think about how many different actors have played Hamlet. The words on the page are exactly the same, but every single performance brings a totally different Hamlet into existence. This is the moment the artwork has its first epiphany, the very first time it can be truly experienced by our senses.
But wait, the process isn't complete, not by a long shot. The performance has given the artwork a body, so to speak, but for Dufresne, it still needs one more crucial element to be fully realized. And that element, that's the spectator. That's you.
Now, this is one of Dufresne's most radical and, I think, most important claims. He's saying your role as an audience member is not passive. You're not just a witness confirming that, yep, the work exists. You are, in his words, the agent who completes it. Think about that for a second. Without your active, intentional perception, the performance is just a physical event happening in space and time. It's just noise and movement.
This transformation, that's the key. It is only through your focused, engaged perception that the performance becomes more than just an event. It becomes a true aesthetic object. This is where the artwork is fully realized, where all those sensory elements are transformed into a world of meaning.
So now let's zoom out a bit. We've talked about the individual act of perception, but let's look at the collective, because another one of the artwork's incredible powers for Dufresne is that it doesn't just appear to individuals. It actively forges its own public. It creates a community.
Dufresne maps out this really fascinating evolution here. It all starts with the individual, what he calls the solitary witness. This then grows into an audience, that temporary group of people gathered for a single performance. But the work's influence doesn't stop when the curtain falls. It creates a lasting public, a community that shares an experience of the work over time. And then finally, the work can reach the level of humanity, becoming a cultural touchstone that goes beyond time and place.
And this relationship is a two-way street. As the public embraces a work of art, giving it a real place in our culture, the artwork, in turn, elevates that public. It encourages us to look past our individual differences and connect with something universal, strengthening our sense of a shared humanity.
Okay, let's bring all these threads together now so we can see the full picture. Because these aren't separate, isolated stages in some linear process. For Dufresne, they form a deeply interconnected structure, a kind of solidarity.
This shows us that the aesthetic object is not some static thing. It's a dynamic event, built on what Dufresne calls a structural solidarity. You have the creator's demand, which is given existence by the performer, which is then completed in the spectator's perception, and finally it's consecrated by the public.
Each one of those roles is absolutely essential for the artwork to achieve the fullness of its being.
And this leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought to chew on. If an artwork actually needs us, it needs our focused attention, our generous perception, our active participation to be truly complete, what kind of responsibility does that place on us? It suggests our role is not passive consumption at all, but active co-creation. So the next time you experience a work of art, just consider for a moment the vital part you are about to play in its very existence.